Some days, being a musician thrills you. And some days...
Hold it, Grace.
Huey, when is an upright not an upright?
it almost kills you.
Keep pushing till I'm down the other side. With nowhere home, you can ride it or fight it or make your own choice. Where their boots are, where their hearts are.
This is Grace. And I'm Hugh. Together we're pushing this old piano across Australia. For us, it is now not about making music and waiting to be discovered. That's the old game. It's the other way around. A life of discovery that provokes and inspires the music. What is it about an old piano that pulls people out of the woodwork? People with stories. And for a couple of songwriters, stories are at the heart of everything we're about. Ian.
They're having a party down at the hall tonight for the Rural Fire Service.
Grace and I were on tour when a mate called up, inviting us to perform at the Nimboida Rural Fire Service recovery party.
They've got a couple of pigs on the spit, but they've got no band.
It was only weeks since a storm of fire had devastated the town.
Welcome to what used to be my house.
Never seen anything like Nimboida. Well done, Nimboida.
The spirit of the community and discovering so many musicians in their midst inspired us. And after that night, we returned to Nimboida many times to record their stories.
Fire. Yesterday there was a big fire. I could see it glow as it was running down the hill.
In my lifetime I've never heard or seen of anything on the scale that this has been.
You need to get out now. And the colour that was coming over the mountain, I was crying, didn't want to leave the house, Mum's house. And I started running.
The back door was opened and you could just see this whole mountain just light, just covered in flame.
We rode the song up Armidale Road over a period of 6 months, watching as the land around Nimboida turned green again.
All we did was what we could, and that's exactly what the rest of the community was doing.
Those harrowing accounts of survival we forged into lyrics and melody.
I walked through here, and this was like a little lounge room and a kitchen. Every time I look at the house, I get a lump in my throat. It's a gorgeous, beautiful house.
And when the song's arrangement began to take shape, we reached out to the orchestra at the Clarence Valley Conservatorium in Grafton to come join the musicians from Nimboida on a journey to a song, directly inspired by the stories that they told.
The one thing that I do want to tell you, best help we had was from Blaze Aid. They've been absolutely bloody marvellous.
Everything we own, it can all be taken in an instant, but what is not taken is connection with people. That's the power of music.
1 year on from the firestorm, we gathered together in the shadow of the mountains surrounding Nimboida. To perform up Armidale Road, a song for survivors.
Beauty of first gear.
Oh my gosh.
Up Armidale Road is hitting the road. So come on, we'd love to see you.
1, 2.
I reckon I can do it one more time better than that.
Well, that was an extraordinary film. Oh my God. Wow.
Thank you so much.
I don't know what to say, you know. It's so touching, and I've seen so many, and it's so powerful in terms of, you know, helping us to see the human spirit, you know, and community spirit, and how it can come together and overcome challenges and trauma. And I feel it should be retitled. I feel it should be Unstoppable Up Armidale Road.
Oh,
unstoppable for sure. Every aspect of it. But I love the vibe. You know, I love the humor and the positivity and the not giving up and just moving forward. And wow, so powerful. So welcome to and congratulations to the filmmakers. We're privileged to hear from now Grace Hickey and Hugh Murray. And yeah, it's one thing to have a fire in your backyard, and then it covers your community, and 67% of your community's homes are affected, and then layer that on top of that, a pandemic, like what next,
That's
and
it.
Yeah, well, and can you hear me okay?
yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
Thanks.
great. Hey, thanks for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, well, that whole region has now, in the last 3 months, 4 months, been hit by massive floods as well. And so we're on a screening tour, a 25-date screening tour to a lot of the towns that were hit by fires. And so the idea would we'd play the film, and then we'd bring our piano, which you saw in the film, and we roll the piano in, and then we play music and have people sing along and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit of a chance for the community to see the film, but also play some music and really get to connect as with their neighbors and friends. But we were 2 dates into this tour, and then these floods, like they called them 1 in 3,000 year floods, happened down the east coast of Australia, and so 9 of our first 10 screenings were washed out, and these are all indoor performances. Like, it's not like they were outdoor. And so Australia is it was the fires, which was horrific, and then, like you said, COVID, and then all of a sudden there was these floods which had happened now over the last 6 months, and they're expecting some more. So the world's in an interesting place.
Oh, it certainly is. But this is such an important story to get out. Yeah, so, my curiosity, I had 2 running themes. I play piano as well, very small scale. My sisters are both music teachers, and their husbands are professional musicians. So I understand the power of music for sure at some level. 2 things were running through my mind, when I watch your film. One was, what was happening with the surrounding communities in terms of providing support to Nimboida. The second thing was, and the answer came at the end of your film, was how did they keep this piano tuned? Like, what is going on? This piano is like a tough piece of equipment. It's like, wow. But getting back to the community, so they were close to. So where were they close to? They were close to. How far away were they from the Coral Ocean there? And Brisbane, is it Brisbane? Or Brisbane?
So about 4 hours south of Brisbane, right over on the east coast there, and that whole kind of area right up and down the east coast, a huge area, was absolutely decimated. And I think Nimboida was one of the first to really cop it that fire season. And as that news cycle just kind of moved through, I think they felt left behind pretty quickly by the media in a lot of ways. And then, of course, after the fire and straight into the pandemic, as Annie said in the film, they're back there quietly trying to put their lives back together in the midst of this global crisis. And I think it was an amazing, experience for us to be able to watch that process really close up, because I think the world had moved on in some sense. So it was a real privilege to be able to document that and be inspired by it as well.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, they feel strong about their community and about the individuals in their community enough it seems, at least from the film, whereby they feel that at the very least they can support each other. You know, they've seen each other manage through so much challenge. How did you? Where are you living? How did you get connected? Like, you just basically, you know, you learned about this event and you just moved into the community. Is that how it happened? Like, or did you have friends in the community, or?
Well, the fires that fire season was basically all through the east coast of Australia. It was like we Grace is from near there, but I'm sort of from about 5 hours south of there. And even here, like where I'm sitting now, there was, you know, those fires were just, you know, within a couple of kilometres, a different fire.
You had to evacuate, didn't you?
Yeah, it was just fires all through the east coast of Australia and Western Australia, and so it was something that the whole country was struggling with.
Yeah.
But Grace and I had been travelling with the piano for a few years, for 5 years before that, and our whole thing was discovering stories, writing songs about stories, creating provoking moments with the piano. And like you were saying, you know, with your family, you know, you got piano players in the family, and so just by rolling this piano out into these situations that people expect to see a piano and then playing some music, we would find ourselves connecting with people, and we would find ourselves being able to write songs about things that we wouldn't have thought to write while sitting in the studio. And so, but we were on tour at the time, and we had some big shows where people just couldn't get to. People couldn't get to our shows because of the fires.
Okay.
But this was a few weeks after when we were on tour. So we ended up, a friend of ours had a music studio in this town in Boyda, which is a really healthy mix of, you know, cattle farmers, but also a lot of creatives. And you can see that in the film, that there's these musicians who are living in this film, and it's probably about half an hour up in the mountains from the nearest like major
from the
center.
highway.
Yeah, from the highway. So it's sort of like nestled up in right up into the bush. So when those fires came through, they were right amongst like real heavy forest, and the film also talks about a lot of things that the dry elements, like there's all these forests which hadn't burnt for years, and so you're talking about they call it the fuel that was sitting on the ground that hadn't been able to be backburned, like the Aboriginals would do these, they call it cold burning, where they just burn slow little patches of forest, and this a lot of the land around there had been turned into national parks, so they weren't allowed to burn. And so there was all this fuel sitting on the ground. So there's so many little elements to this film that I found, which
was a source of, you know, land management and things like that. Was a source of quite a bit of controversy in a lot of communities in regional Australia, and I think it's one of the things, like with music, it just opened up that whole conversation. People were happy to talk about it with us, and that was kind of, music was our doorway into the community too. We had a friend, Ian, in the film, who invited us up to just come and see what was going on, you know, and we came into the community, you know, not wanting to seem voyeuristic or, you know, tread on anybody's toes. We were quite
respectful.
We kept to ourselves initially, but that first night, pulling the piano out and having those 6 Nimboida fellows pull it up on the stage for us, that really opened up doors for us with the community. You know, that night we had a dozen people say, come out to my place, come see what happened, I want to talk about it, you know. So
oh wow, that's so fascinating. I love your philosophy also, Hugh, a life of discovery, that provokes and inspires the music. That's so true now, isn't it? There's so many stories to be told, and sharing through music is such a powerful modality. Um, you know, I see that there's an aging demographic in that community too. I understand the median age is like 52. Like what a worry, and what a lifetime of generations of families, that are having to face change, likely change experts at this point. I saw news. I don't, likely you've seen this too. Peter Simpson from the area on 7 News, November 8th, 2019, telling his story about how he saved his house. And you have to see the story. I'll send you the link afterwards if you haven't met him in the community. Such a warrior. He stood back and he's hosing down his property. His hair got singed.
Yep.
He saved his
Yep.
animals, and he's taking people in from the community. Who've lost their homes. So powerful. Pardon me. I just kicked my desk there, but yeah, it was really interesting. He was talking about how there could be an opportunity, Grace, to your point, whereby maybe the community should be trained on not fire prevention, but how to manage fires in the future, or more support that way. He has all kinds of great thoughts. I'll send you a link to the clip. I think it's got like a million views. What was the root cause, out of curiosity? Any ideas? Do they know at this point what the root cause of that fire was, out of curiosity?
It was actually, I think, 3 different fires that converged. So I'm not sure what the individual root causes of those were, but
yeah,
there was just there was policy there that prevented farmers from clearing their land as they might once have done, and things like that, where it just wasn't, the country was ready to go up. And the problem is that now that all this this rain has fallen, and all of this undergrowth has really taken off, there's a lot of kind of rubbishy bush there that's, it's another tinderbox waiting to happen.
And Australia had been in drought. Like we'd been in a horrible drought. We've got photos of our piano out in a dam at 5%. One of the main dams in West New South Wales was down to 5%, much like the dams that you see in America at the moment. And so that was all part of the lead up to this as well. So that the drought, and then just a tinderbox, like Grace said. Yeah.
What a fascinating dynamic for the New South Wales area. The Australian people are so incredibly strong, and I will be promoting this film pretty heavily.